Hey, I'm Brian Geisel, and this is Software Off the Cuff. Today I want to talk about Kaizen. Kaizen is the Japanese concept of constantly improving yourself, your process, your business process, those kinds of things. It's the idea and the concept of constantly getting better. And so I want to put that out to you today. I used to have a friend who used to interview for technical positions. One of the questions he used to ask is, what do you read? What do you do to improve yourself on a continual basis? And any answer was okay as long as you had an answer, right? It could be podcasts that you listen to. It could be videos you watch, YouTube channels that you subscribe to. It could be books that you're reading, a book that you're reading right now, magazines. He didn't care where you were getting the information from, but he did care that you were getting the information, that you didn't just work a 9 to 5 and then at 5 o'clock it was over and you were never thinking about software again in this case, or whatever your particular role may be. And so he was looking for what is that improvement. In fact, if you remember a few years ago, Sarah Palin got caught in this in an interview with Katie Couric. Katie Couric had asked her, what specific magazines and newspapers and publications do you read? And Sarah Palin didn't have a clear answer for her. And the press went crazy with it. Everybody was all over this. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Let me stick the microphone in your face right now and ask you the question. What magazines and newspapers, maybe you don't read newspapers and that's fair enough, but what magazines, what podcasts do you listen to? What videos do you watch to improve yourself? I think it's a great question. I think it's something that we need to think about is how can we improve ourselves? Or how can you improve your company? And so as our company, one of the things we do, today happens to be a Friday as I'm recording this video, and Friday, we do Friday Tech Talks here at Geisel Software. Friday Tech Talk is usually between a 20-minute and a 1-hour talk that one of us gives about either something that we've been working on recently that we think would help the rest of the team, that would be interesting to the rest of the team, maybe something we work on in our spare time. Somebody recently gave a presentation about Unity. She wasn't working on Unity as a project that she was working on here. It was something she was doing in her spare time. It was super productive, helpful things that we work on here, the kinds of software development projects that we work on here. But it doesn't even have to be. You'd be amazed how many times you learn one thing over here and it connects with another thing over here. In fact, I'll give you an example. I was working on an iPhone app, and this is one of the things. Well, I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to say, always be learning why. Don't just learn the information. This is the biggest thing I think that so many of us missed in school. If you're still in school, you might have a chance to still get this right. The rest of us missed it entirely. For a test, we would prepare just so that we passed the test, just so we got the answers right. That's what everybody does, right? But you know, it's interesting. I've talked to some people who did amazing in school, and one of the things that one of them said was that he didn't prepare for the test. He prepared to understand that concept or understand where the answer came from. And I think that's so important in engineering and in life. Find out why. Don't just find out what the answer is. Dig in. Is it work? Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work. But dig in and find out why, and you will be so rewarded in so many ways. So back to my story, I was working on this iPhone app one time, and we were putting icons. We're doing icons in the corner, and close and edit and those kinds of things. And we decided to do them as vector. What that means to those who are non-technical is just that as the image grows, it doesn't decrease in quality. Did you ever see Super Mario blown up really big and he's all pixelated, right? If he was a vector image, he wouldn't be all pixelated. He'd be still super sharp no matter how big you made him. So we thought at the time, let's make this a vector because it's a better way to do it. And it turns out, several years later, the iPhone came out with higher resolutions versions of the iPhone, and guess what? Our app just instantly took advantage of that because the way we had drawn the pixels. Or the icons rather, we drew them manually in vectors. And anyway, as I was doing the vectors, I was actually doing the math, the trigonometry to figure out what the angles were and how far I had to draw the line to make this pencil and make the angles off of another angle. And I was doing geometry and trigonometry and went through sine and cosine and square roots and so forth to figure out you can go learn geometry and trigonometry separate from this conversation. Actually, great plug for Khan Academy, Kahn. Great place to learn stuff, totally free. And Sal Khan is an amazing teacher, especially if you want to learn math, but they have some other stuff there as well. But for math, they are amazing. So when we're talking about Kaizen and improving yourself, hey, maybe it's time to go back and learn calculus. They've got that on their website. Awesome place to learn stuff, Khan Academy. Definitely check that out. Put that on your list. Go scribble that down right now. Okay, but the crazy thing was a few weeks later, I was working with a robotics client. Completely different project. This didn't happen to involve any mobile on the robotics. Completely different project. It was, if you imagine how satellites orbit in space and how they have to deal with their trajectories and those kinds of things, that's what we were calculating. And it turns out I had to do the exact same calculation for that I had done on my own project on this mobile app. And so guess how quickly I was able to get that done for that client. Completely unrelated. One is drawing graphics and one is like the orientation of satellites. But they were the same math. That stuff happens all the time in life. I can't tell you how many times I've dug into an issue and then I find out, oh, hey, look at this. This gives me some information later that I would have had no idea of, that I would have had no context on. And so I'm going to encourage you, be improving yourself. Find places like Khan Academy to improve yourself. Find podcasts, find YouTube channels you can subscribe to. Things that will help you improve yourself. And if you're a manager, if you're running a company, it's something that you need to look at for your employees too, is how can you help them improve yourselves? What we found is this half an hour a week does a fantastic job at training people on all kinds of things. And then suddenly when we need to dive in on a project that's Unity and somebody is kind of new to that thing, but they need to help out on that project, they go back and they watch that video, or maybe they just saw the presentation live and now they know some information that they didn't know before. And so always be improving yourself, always be improving your people. See, what can I do today that tomorrow I'll be better than I was yesterday? What is that thing that you can go out and do that's 5 or 10 minutes sometimes? Sometimes it's hours, and dig in. But don't be afraid to dig in. Find out where you can learn, and Kaizen. Constantly be improving yourself. This is Brian Geisel, and this is our episode 2 of Software Off the Cuff.